Philip Turle. Hello to you, Philip. Blinken under some pressure to condemn these Israeli airstrikes in Gaza and the growing casualties in the Strip. But will he be changing his message?
Well, I think the word that is being generally used is a nuance. That means there's a shift, as you were saying, from the original message, which was, yes, we support Israel. Yes, Israel has a right to defend itself. That is still the message from the United States. But it's under the laws of the rules of international law. And Israel has got to be very careful not to incur more Palestinian casualties and also to launch a pause in the fighting to let in more humanitarian aid. That is new on the agenda as far as Antony Blinken is concerned. Now, remember, you were just saying this is the third visit by Antony Blinken to Israel, and he hasn't managed to obtain very much in the last visits. The first one, he was hoping to obtain a coalition of partners in the region to fight against Hamas. That didn't come about. He was also then followed by Joe Biden, who wasn't able to meet with regional leaders in Amman following the bombing of a hospital in Gaza. So this is another attempt by the US to try to make Israel become a bit more reasonable in its attacks against civilian areas. Principally because I think in the United States there's concern that this is going to undermine Joe Biden's position in the upcoming election polls for next year's presidential elections in the US, which are taking place in exactly a year's time. There's a fall in support amongst young people, amongst Arab Americans, and Joe Biden is concerned about that. That's why they want to see more leniency, if you like, on the part of the Israelis going a bit more in the favor of what the US wants and not turning their back on these US demands. Unfortunately, it doesn't look that way, because if you look at what Benjamin Netanyahu has been saying over the past few years, he says the war has just started, so it doesn't look as though there's going to be any let up in the bombings taking place there. And even Benny Gantz, who is the opposition leader who's part of this war cabinet in Israel, has said that what Israel will do is to fight a war which will be in accordance with what Israel wants. So no sign really there of him changing a position either. And the other point, which is a little bit worrying for the US, is that they want to, they're calling for a two-state solution in Israel and between Israel and the Palestinians. It doesn't look as though that's on the agenda right now, and even calls for an interim force to go into Gaza once and if Hamas is got rid of. That doesn't look it's like it's going to come about anytime soon. And even the US doesn't want to get involved in any force like that, because that would lead to attacks against US soldiers. And that's something the United States doesn't want to take on board right now.
So what does the US think is the right way forward?
Well, I think that what the US wants is for the Palestinian Authority to take control of Gaza in the long run. Just like it did before Hamas took power back in 2007. But even that, unfortunately, is a long shot. Antony Blinken, for the first time, has actually come out in a quote and said that what would make the most sense would be for an effective and revitalized Palestinian Authority to have governance and ultimately security responsibility for Gaza. The problem here is that the Palestinian Authority is lacking in support, even in the West Bank. It's seen as a corrupt organization. There have been no elections there for nearly 18 years. Mahmoud Abbas, the president of the Palestinian Authority, is 88 years old, and the organization is deemed as being really in cahoots with Israel and doing what Israel wants in the West Bank. So it's very hard to see how they would have any chance of taking control of the Gaza Strip anytime soon, even if there were a two-state solution which was agreed upon by both sides. And even Hamas has come out and said that this is just another way of the United States trying to interfere in regional politics, and it doesn't really know what it's talking about. So all of this seems to be pretty unclear about what Antony Blinken is going to obtain here. And I think a lot of concern in the United States that Israel has really decided to go its own way and won't really be listening very much to what the US wants.
All right, Philip, thank you very much. Philip Turle, our foreign editor.